Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome back. Now, before we carry on to the next guest, inshallah, I just wanted to put up the poster that Moulana Ismail Musa was speaking about from the IPCI. So, this is the Visionary Successful Dawah for the 21st Century, which is a 3-day interactive residential masterclass from the 19th to the 21st of July 2024 at Eluzwini Resort, South Africa, which is in Drakensberg. So, if you're someone who is engaged or desires to engage in the field of da'wah, this retreat will empower you to build your vision, develop your strategy, and implement the principles to make an impact, inshallah. You can look forward to seminars and workshops on vision, strategy, and leadership, spiritual and team building activities, 4-star accommodation, and full board meals. And we are given inshallah, just want to display quickly the poster where we can, for more information, you can go to thevisionaries.co.uk, or you can contact the number at 076-691-3137. That's 076-691-3137. Inquiries, the visionaries at sapiensinstitute.org. So now, inshallah, let's quickly move on to the next segment with Brother Faheem. Brother Faheem is running an organization known as Amal wal Nur. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Brother Faheem, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam, Moulana. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Alhamdulillah. No, it's a pleasure to have you. This show is made for people like yourself who are doing a lot of work in the background and not many people know about it. But inshallah, today, hope that will change. People will know about Amal wal Nur and try to liaise with them, inshallah. So before we carry on, the first question will always pop out in people's minds is, what is Amal wal Nur and how did it start, inshallah?
So I think Amal wal Nur, in a little nutshell, is a welfare organization. I think simply put, it's a welfare organization, but we are a little organization with very big dreams. So at the moment, our primary focus, and I think because of what we've noticed within our communities, our primary focus is trying to alleviate poverty and hunger. We've seen massive growth of informal settlements around the area. We've seen a lot of children playing in the streets that are generally hungry. We've seen a lot of older ladies coming through with babies, with younger children that are hungry. We've seen a number of orphanages popping up as well. And we realized that there's an inherent need building within the community for us to serve, and where we're able to serve, to be able to do something for the community that is sort of building back. It's easy to walk around the community and pretend we're doing a lot when we're not actually doing much. And I think it's easier to actually do a little without actually saying anything. And I think that's what's important to Amal wal Nur. We've intentionally sort of kept ourselves under the radar because the purpose of it was more to alleviate, like I said, the hunger. And I think we've reached a point now where we've realized that we're very small and we need to grow.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's very important that we stick to our intention, we stick to our basics, and looking forward, inshallah, to doing more. Like the point that you mentioned, which is really important. And I always believe, especially in the work of dawah and community development, is that we should actually talk less and do more, which is lacking a lot in a lot of situations. And unfortunately, we know there's many reasons, but we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance. Now, if you can take us back, inshallah, when did you actually start with Amal wal Nur, and how has it been operating so far, inshallah?
So I think in order to talk to where I started with Amal wal Nur, I'll have to talk to a little further back to where I've been. So, having come off a long corporate career, I sat back and I looked at this and I thought, my chosen career was human resources, and with the thinking being that I'll be helping people. But within that space, I didn't feel like I was connecting to anyone. And I left this environment and sort of sat by for a few years and, sort of became a problem for my wife. I pretty much nagged on for every little thing. And I think the inspiration came more from her side in that, she looked at me and she said, this is who you are. And why don't we try this avenue? Because you've always been doing this. You just, let's do more. Let's make it bigger because we're seeing a problem and we can do something about it. This was around about, I would say, late 2022. And I think given the position that we were in at the time, obviously financially, I didn't have a lot of means. So the immediate thing that we could do is obviously try and feed the community. I joined a company. I joined the company at around about the same time that does similar work, and I think it became important to me more that I was doing it more than just a job. Um, Sitting and doing a job is one thing, but being who you are is something else. And I think it became more important to me to exercise who I am and how I'm able to communicate and how I'm able to build on everything that I've learned and how I can bring that back into the community and service the community. Because another thing you find that's lacking in the community is a simple thing like skills.
Mm,
I've
mm,
spent this time learning, developing, and then, I mean, you sit and you learn and you develop, and then what do you do with it? You
mm,
service a company. I mean, that's really not worth much. So, what I'd like to do, and I think I've tied this up into the vision of Amal wal Nur, is that I'd like to, expand into a skills development sort of space eventually, and bring back into the community something more that will build their skill to fit into, this environment. A lot of it is just a huge disconnect, informal versus formal, and all of that. And I think
mm.
if we push from bottom up, we can build better than trying to sort of sit from the top down and watch.
100%. And I think that actually comes up a lot in our discussions. A few weeks ago, we had the same discussion with a very close friend of mine from El Dorado Park and brother Yahya, also Muhammad, from the area. So, brother Yahya works in the Human Settlement Department, and we're speaking about skills which are not being tapped into, especially by our youngsters. We have a big unemployment rate, especially for the youth, and many people are not going into certain skills like your welding, your plumbing, which are actually quite interesting and needed skills, artisan skills that are needed at the daily base. And again, going to the point, the main ethos of Amal wal Nur is feeding people and assisting people. And one of the things that we always think about is that if we have so many people to feed, can't we also assist them by upscaling them and then helping them start their own businesses or go into jobs which are not actually taken by many people, so rather helping them make so it's like that saying, you teach a person how to fish instead of giving them a fish every day. So but regardless of that, inshallah, I think we're always on the same concept of struggling against this threshold of poverty. But anyhow, inshallah, we will get there. We just need to collaborate and have a clear goal, inshallah. Now, in terms of the distribution Amal wal Nur has been doing, inshallah, can you just take us more into that as to the recipients and how you work, days that you also assist, and areas where we can also find Amal wal Nur, inshallah, if we need to work with them?
Gee, so I think, look, primarily at the moment, because obviously having other work to do as well, but Amal wal Nur primarily gets my focus from a Friday to a Sunday.
Mm,
More community based. In the beginning, we started off we started off distributing essentially 50 loaves of bread a week. And very fast, that number climbed to roughly about 200,
mm,
at which point I just could not keep up. I looked at, a few guys to get contributions going, and it sort of helped for a while, but they faded after a while as well. And
mm,
I think lucky and not lucky at the same time, the number of recipients sort of dwindled a bit at the same time. At the moment, I'm doing roughly 138 to 140 people a week,
mm,
in terms of bread distribution, which I do every Friday afternoon just after Juma. And then I've got a monthly distribution that I do in the Ennerdale area, where I'm looking at 14 homes currently.
mm,
We distribute monthly rice packs to these homes. There's also a few, if you want to call them, odds and ends. So where a need comes up within the community, for example, somebody hears about you and hears that you doing this sort of work, they'll obviously
mm,
approach you and ask you for help. A lot of that is obviously sort of confidential and private information, so I can't
mm,
really
mm,
disclose too much about what is being done. But
100%.
we essentially at the back and call of the community. When the community needs something, we want to be the ones that are able to get up and help. Obviously, that means to have the means, which is a bit of a challenge. But that's essentially our aim and our target.
Subhanallah. And also, you mentioned that there's an orphanage that you assist with, inshallah. Can you take us more into that, inshallah?
Gee, there's a orphanage based in Indonesia South called Zake Center. Um, when we initially started with the orphanage only had a count of 15 kids.
Mm,
Um, at the moment, they were to secure a second property because the number of children has shot up significantly. So, as I mentioned previously,
subhanallah.
there's been a huge growth in informal settlements within the area, and
Mm,
with that obviously comes a lot of children that don't have any direction and don't have any parents for that matter. We've seen Zake centers numbers increase from 15 to 43. uh, at the moment, I've sort of stagnated in that space, in that I've only been able to supply them with that amount every week. That being, 10 loaves on every Friday. Where they ask for something else, I've sort of been able to arrange a couple of hampers and this and that to help them. But again, sitting with the same thing, you're looking at a number of children. Shukr, I think one of the things that I should mention though is two of the kids that were there initially when I started were part of the 15 are now actually gone on. One is progressed to the Durban University of Technology, and the
mm.
one is at WITS in Gauteng, obviously. And they actually, the success you see in these children, if they just have a helping hand, is amazing. And I think that in itself is much fulfillment for all of us at Amal wal Nur.
Mm. Subhanallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. So, subhanallah, it's amazing where you are actually, when you get involved in such situations and see someone progressing in their lives and things actually coming together, inshallah. So, it's one of those things that bring a smile on the face. Now, in terms of, again, we all understand that in order for organizations to stay afloat, there's a big need of financial assistance. And you mentioned that there's not much of that going on at the moment. Now, besides all in all, what seems to be the main challenges that are faced by Amal wal Nur, and how do you feel, or how do you think that that can be alleviated as we go forward, inshallah?
Gee, so I think obviously the first one that obviously comes to mind is the funding perspective, where at the moment we're limited to essentially five people that are funding us at the moment, and
Mm,
that just provides us just enough to provide, like I said, the weekly bread distribution. We occasionally have a surplus where we're able to do a hot meal for the community. We'd like to expand on that, which I think is very important because a lot of the time, I mean, you are providing a meal, and you give a lot of shukr to our creator for being able to do that. But in the same breath, you sit and you look at these children and you realize there's a lot of nutritional deficiency that you're picking up because they're not being fed, correctly.
mm,
They're
mm,
eating whatever they're able to get their hands on. And I'd like to, obviously, in an ideal world, I'd like to fill that gap and make sure these children are fed well and eaten correctly. Again, it's a funding challenge. I think one of the primary challenges was, which I've sort of found too daunting over time. I approached government, which I think that already speaks for itself, just to
mm,
get the organization registered and get the NPO number and get all of this sorted out was a bit of a headache. And
mm,
then trying to get direction in terms of funding was completely impossible. So I sort of kicked back to saying, you know what, let's just do what we can with what we have. And
mm.
that's basically what we've operated on for as long as we've been operating, which is approximately 1.5, almost 2 years now.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. I think all organizations would actually say the same thing. Subhanallah. A month ago, we also had an orphanage, which is also based in Land South. Just forgot the name also. But it had the same name as yours. It was Amal, if I'm not, there was another name mixed to it. But they also had the same issue in terms of funding. There's another Sheikh Saeed Foundation center, which is the Lensa. Same thing that's always occurring is the financial part of it that seems to be daunting, and unfortunately, it does curb the progress of our organizations. So, inshallah, let's inshallah come together and assist each other on this. And I believe there are many people out there who can assist. If it's not directly, they can actually point us to the right places where this can be made into a dream, inshallah. And more specifically, because Brother Fahim has a beautiful idea of delving into the skills development training, which is very important. And we're also embarking on the same strand, because that's what we saw that should be, inshallah, the solution to our unemployment scourge that we are facing. Subhanallah, imagine having over 40% of the youth of South Africa being unemployed. That is drastic, subhanallah. And that just tells you that there's a lot that needs to be done, especially after the elections we just had. Now we see for real that we have to stand up and we have to start doing for ourselves, inshallah, in order for us to progress. Jazakumullah, Brother Fahima. In the last 2 minutes, inshallah, what can you give us as a parting advice to those organizations in the same element as yourself, struggling to stay afloat and trying to do their utmost best with the little that they have, inshallah?
Gee, I think, look, if I could give any of these small organizations one word of advice, I do understand how tough it is, but understand that the people that depend on these organizations have it much tougher. So no matter how hard it gets, just keep going. It doesn't matter how hard it gets. Remember also that each one of us feeding people is doing work that is chosen by Allah. We are chosen specifically by Allah to do this work. We should never be giving up on this work. It's barakah in our lives. It's direction in our lives, and it brings us closer to Allah inevitably. So I think it's work that we need to continuously focus on, and we need to do irrespective of what challenges we face.
100%, subhanallah. Once again, jazakumullah khaira, Brother Faheem, for joining us tonight. It was really a pleasure having to speak with you. And alhamdulillah, we got to know now what is Amal wal Nur. And inshallah, for those people who are in the place close to Lenasia South, or who know about the organization, can just pop through, inshallah, and assist. Whatever the means is, doesn't only have to be monetarily, can also be voluntarily, but going in and assisting, helping out. I mean, subhanallah, Brother Faheem can support me on this, that it's not only the money, but even giving time. That's a valuable sadaqah that we can give, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairah once again, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take your organization and everyone else from strength to strength and make it a very vital point in the community, to build a community, inshallah, and make it a sustainable community, inshallah. Jazakallah khairah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran, Moulana. Jazakallah.
Barakallah fiqh. Alhamdulillah. So that brings us to the end of our show tonight. However, I just want to run it back quickly before we go forth. So there was Sheikh Brother Faheem speaking about Amal wal Nur. And for those who need, inshallah, to contact him, I think, inshallah, if you can give me a thumbs up, if I can share the numbers. Right. So for those who need the contact numbers for that, it will be on 078 022 9573. So that's 078 022 9573 for Amal wal Nur, for anything that need information, inquiries, assistance, whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. Then lastly, we'll go back to the first show in terms of speaking about the program that will be happening between the 19th to the 21st of July, and that will be by Sapiens Institute. Also, Marcus Manar al-Fikr is also on the board, and the IPCI. So inshallah, let me just get a display quickly. There we go. So we have the visionaries, successful dawah for the 21st century. So that's a 3-day intensive masterclass. Ezulini Resort, South Africa, and that will be from the 19th to the 21st of July, and the numbers are there, inshallah. So we have the email also address, or you can just check the visionaries.co.uk. And for the numbers, it's 076 691 3137. Email thevisionaries@sapiensinstitute.org. So, alhamdulillah, for those who are very interested much in dawah, getting to the field of dawah, learning more about dawah, this is for you, inshallah. And inshallah, we'll be running this until the day comes. And for many other information regarding IPCI, please do connect, and we can give more information on that, especially for those who are in need of dawah material, the dawah packs, books, Qur'ans, etc. Please do contact me. You can contact me personally, 076 495 9873, or on my email, yunuskawanga@gmail.com, or we can connect to the Salam Media email also. The thing Salam Media info, the info@salammedia.com. .co.za, sorry. And for any other information that we need, please, regarding any of the past guests that we had, you can connect on that, inshallah, and we can give and we'll connect you with the relevant people, inshallah. Again, it's a beautiful Thursday evening. Once again, a reminder to read abundant durood upon our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and read Surah Al-Kahf as protection from the subhanallah. I can say this is the worst fitna that we are to face, and it has already started. The system of the Dajjal has already started. May Allah protect us. And lastly but not least, a lot of du'as for brothers and sisters in Palestine, especially what's happening in Rafah at the moment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them, alleviate them, return them back to their homes with victory, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant those who have already passed the status of martyrdom and entering into Jannah without any hisab, inshallah, ameen. And may Allah resurrect them with the Anbiya, alayhi salatu salam, on the day of Qiyamah. And for us, let's try and do whatever we can to assist them in aid, speaking out. We have social media, easy way for us to advocate upon their freedom, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. Until we meet again, inshallah. This is Yunus Kawanga on the Call to Guidance, the show that airs every Thursday evening from 8 p.m. until 9 p.m. And we speak about everything and anything that has to do with dawah and community development. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.